Hello and welcome to another Baggie Brothers video. We're talking all things Albion, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Tom, aka BaggiesBulletin. Welcome to the channel, Tom.
Hello, how's it going, guys? Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
We set ourselves a bit of a challenge this week. Obviously, it's the January transfer window, and we thought we'd try and pick 3 players that we'd all like to see join the club this window. Hopefully, too realistic. No Messis or Ronaldos on our lists, but let's see who we've all picked. Tom, would you like to go first? Who's your first player?
Okay, so with my 3 picks, they're not necessarily players that I would personally want, but I've tried to kind of take a realistic approach, and yeah, I've had a look at players that are out of contract in the summer, things like that, and players that, you know, aren't getting much game time but have perhaps worked with Allardyce in the past. So my 3, well, my first one, I was kind of toying between 2. I was toying between James Tompkins and Sacco at Crystal Palace. Now, I was going to go with Tompkins. Obviously, I sent you my 3 before the video, obviously, and I had put Tompkins down, but he's actually been playing quite a bit, I understand, under Hodgson back in the Palace team. So I changed it to Sacco, and then obviously there's quite a few rumours have been circulating, hasn't there, about Sacco and the club being interested in Palace wanting to get rid potentially. So yeah, my first pick is Sacco, who's obviously a centre-back for Crystal Palace. My second pick is a central midfielder for Everton called Mohamed Bezic. Again, he's a player who's out of contract in the summer. Everton have got an absolutely massive squad. They're looking to get rid of quite a lot of players this window, I believe. And again, he's another player Allardyce has worked with. He's like a combative central midfielder, gets stuck in, protects the back 4, that kind of player. And then up top, I've gone with Troy Deeney up top. I know we've been linked with, you know, some more high-profile names, I guess, so far this window. But again, like I said, I took a bit of a realistic approach to it, and we were obviously linked with him in the last transfer window quite heavily. And yeah, I think Deeney's the kind of player that Allardyce, you know, that kind of attitude. He's quite outspoken, isn't he? And a bit of a leader. So I think they're the kind of players Allardyce is going to be looking to bring in this window. So my third pick was Troy Deeney, who's obviously a striker for Watford.
I think 3 pretty solid picks.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with any of them coming in.
Yeah. Well, we obviously right at the start of our channel, we did our sort of transfer dream players back in the summer, and Troy Deeney was one of the players that we would have loved to have joined then, because you know, you see how he played for Watford throughout his Premier League career, and he's sort of doing it again in the Championship. Just a strong forward, can hold the ball up, can be a goal scorer when you need him, and more importantly, something I do think we are missing is a leader.
Yeah, 100%.
He is a leader. Yeah. So he'd be out of the 3, he'd probably be the one that I would be super chuffed if he joined.
Yeah, I was quite keen because, you know, in the summer transfer window for us to bring him in, because the points you've just made, really, I just think, yeah, we've got quite a lot of young players, inexperienced players, haven't we? You know, players who haven't got that Premier League experience. And yeah, there was quite a few of our fans who weren't too keen. He was injured quite a bit, wasn't he, last season for Watford?
Yeah.
And, you know, he's not getting any younger. Is he, 32, I think, perhaps?
Yeah, around them.
But yeah, I just thought he'd just be good foil for, like, you know, someone like Grant, someone like Robinson to play alongside. He's just your big kind of solid target man, isn't he? He's got, I tell you what, he's got quite a good record for Watford in the Premier League as well, in terms of the amount of goals he scored for him.
Yeah.
He always seemed to pop up with goals against, you know, some of the big teams, didn't he, as well? So yeah, I was disappointed that deal, you know, didn't come through in the end. But yeah, I think he'd be quite an astute signing, because I don't think he'd cost too much either. I think he's been in and out of the Watford team so far this season, and Watford are, I think they're just outside the playoffs at the moment. You know, they're not one of
not top of the league.
Not pushing on.
Yeah, they're not one of the top teams. They're looking like they might end up in the playoffs. So I think there'd be probably a good chance of bringing him in. So
yeah, I think he's also proven goal scorer in the Premier League, like you just said,
yeah.
which is what we're desperate for. We need goals, don't we? So someone like that coming in with his leadership, like you've all just said, I think it'd be brilliant for the Albion squad. So
Yeah. I think, the other out of the three I've picked, he'd be the one I'd be most keen on coming in. The other two I've picked, I'm not really kind of too keen on them as players. I think Sacco wouldn't be a bad addition, but he's from what I've read, he's on a hell of a lot of money at Crystal Palace because he used to play for Liverpool, obviously, and
he's on 6 figures, I think, isn't he? From what I've been reading in the papers today.
Isn't that much, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, down at Palace. So that's a hefty chunk of our wage budget, isn't it? So
yeah, it sounds like we're interested in him, but I don't know whether we're going to stump up that kind of money, those kind of wages, are we? I don't.
no.
I'll be surprised if we're paying that kind of wages out to anyone. So yeah,
I wouldn't think there's anyone in a West Brom kit that's earning anywhere near that much.
No, not a chance.
But yeah, cool. I like those 3 picks. Yeah, I think Deeney would be the winner out of those 3, but I'd be pretty happy with Sacco joining in as well, just to sort of shape up the back line.
Bezic was a bit of a bargain bin addition, really. It's one, because we're going to have to, aren't we? We're going to.
Of course.
This window is going to be interesting because the players Allardyce wants to bring in, I think they're going to be like, guys who've got Premier League experience, kind of guys in their prime or maybe just a little bit past it, who've been there, done it, can come in straight away. But these are the kind of guys that want decent wages, aren't they? And we know that his budget's going to be tight, so it is going to be interesting. I think he's going to have to do a bit of wheelie dealing, but take a few risks, I think, potentially on some players. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Ads, do you want to go for your 3 next?
Yeah, go for it. So my first choice was Damari Gray from Leicester. He's a bit out of favour at the minute. Obviously, we've all seen what Harvey Barnes can do on a football field, and he's just going up and up and up. They've got old Brighton and Perez as well. So he's kind of knocked down the pecking list a little bit, and I think he's the sort of player that it would fit in quite well with our team. He's pacey, so on the counter attack he could break quick. He can finish in the Premier League, which he's proven. So yeah, I think he'd be quite a good little addition, and I don't think you'd pay that much for him. We might even be able to get him on loan if he's not getting paid at Leicester. If we're going to take some of their wages off him, off their wage bill, that might materialise. Second player I've gone for is Jack Wilshere. Bit of a 50-50 with this one. Obviously, we all know his injury problems, but no one can deny his talent. He's played for England. He's played for Arsenal since the age of 16. And when we all saw him come onto the pitch, we thought, wow, that's England's centre midfielder for the next 15 years. Well, I think I certainly did anyway. So, he's a top talent. And he's obviously had about 8 months out of the game now. So that might have given his body time to heal up, maybe. I don't know. Just trying to bullshit my way to get through Jack Wilshere into our team, basically. Just because he can see a pass that no one else can. And I think that's what we're lacking in the team as well. Someone with that creative passing ability. And he's a free transfer, which is what, again, I think we've got to look at. Like Tom's mentioned, we've got to look for the bargain bucket / free transfers. So he's not going to cost us anything to come in. So if we can get him on like a pay-as-you-play contract, like he had done at West Ham, it's not going to be any money wasted if he's not going to play, because he's not going to get paid. So that was one maybe I was umming and ahhing about. And my last one was Adam Armstrong, striker from Blackburn. He started his career at Newcastle. He's a pacey striker, and he's proved he can score goals in the Championship, a bit like Grant. He's scoring 1 goal every 2-ish games, so it's not a bad return. And again, I don't think he'd be through the roof money. It's someone in our sort of price budget. So, another one I thought I'd knock on there. But it was crossed between him and Cauley Woodrow. I really like him as well. Another Championship striker. But yeah, I went for Adam Armstrong in the end. And they're all quite young players. Like Damari Gray's 24, Armstrong's 23, and Wilshere's 29. So they're not old. So they're not like the Ivanoviches coming in and are going to be past it and not be up to the scratch. So, they're my 3.
Pretty decent again. Like I wouldn't hate any of those players coming in. Don't know how you feel about them, Tom.
No, I posted something on the Instagram page last window about Wilshere, and I just thought he was one to just definitely take a punt on and just take the risk. You know, I'm surprised that no one's given that chance really. That throughout the first half of the season, he's not been playing with anyone. It's only recently he started training with Bournemouth. I think he has just to try and get into shape. But I'd definitely take the risk with Wilshere. It's like you said, as long as you can structure the deal so, he's so injury prone, you can structure the deal so that he, like you said, pay as you play or something along those lines. Because like you said, if you could get him, even like 80% fit playing for an hour, like you said, the passes he can make and the vision he's got, it's just something we're really lacking, isn't it, in the middle of the park? So, I'd take a risk on Wilshere 100%. And the other, Damari Gray's an interesting one because Rodgers has obviously come out and said that he can go. He's willing to listen to offers because he's out of contract in the summer. So, our wingers haven't really done it, have they, so far this season? No. We had high hopes for Diangana and Phillips and Grosicki have just kind of obviously been in and out of the team a bit, and they haven't really stepped up to the Premier League, have they? And Robinson's done all right, I guess, when he's played out wide, but we could definitely do with some reinforcements out wide as well, I think. And he's a good player, isn't he, Gray?
Yeah, for sure. I like your choice of Adam Armstrong as well, because I'll be honest with you, until you put his name forward, I'd completely forgot about him because he's someone that sort of pops up on like Football Manager as like a player, like, oh, check this guy out, and you're like, oh, whatever. Plays for Blackburn, I'm not bothered. But yeah, when you put that name, I was checking out like the Championship top goal scorers, and I think he's third out of all the players or something like that. And above him's like Ivan Toney, and in that same sort of area, you've got people like Pookie. But yeah, he's seems solid. Since he's left Newcastle, he's actually sort of started becoming quite a good striker. So, and again, we are missing goals. We all know we're missing goals. So having someone that knows where it is could be quite handy to the club. I mean, out of all of them, I think Wilshere would probably be the most interesting one to get in, just because I guess everything you two have said. He's played for one of the top clubs in the country. He's played for England. He's a master passer of the ball. And, if it's pay as you play, it's nothing to lose, really. If he's fit, he plays. If he doesn't, who cares,
I think Allardyce is the kind of guy to... I don't know. I think he'd work well under Allardyce as well. I don't know why, really. I just think, I think Allardyce, he's obviously straight talking, isn't he? He's a bit of a wide boy, isn't he, Allardyce, I guess. He's a bit old school, isn't he? A bit of a Dell boy. I just think Wilshere come, you know what I mean? I think he'd kind of get on well with Allardyce, I think. Wilshere.
Yeah, I can see that.
But Armstrong, I tell you what, I'm a massive championship. I love watching championship football, I do. So Armstrong has been unreal for Blackburn this season. They're a great team going forward, Blackburn are. And Armstrong, I think he's got about 16 goals, something like that already for Blackburn. Yeah. Those are the kind of guys I was hoping we were going to go for at the start of the last window with Bilic. I was hoping he was going to pluck some of those gems from the championship.
Yeah.
Likes of Armstrong, these kind of guys, these young players who look like they've got what it takes to come to the Prem, and obviously he just didn't have the money to spend, did he, at the end of the day? But
no,
Armstrong, I'd love to see him, but I don't know. I kind of think they'd want a lot of money for Armstrong. That's my opinion anyway, because he's just been absolute fire
since he's been putting them in the goal. The price just goes up and up, doesn't it?
That's it. I just think they'd be looking for like 15 mil, I reckon, at least for Armstrong at the moment, and that's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe not.
You're probably right there. It was probably a bit of an ambitious one, but yeah.
I think Woodrow, that's a great call, I think, because you'd definitely be able to get him for less. He's played a bit of football in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And he's scored loads of goals for Barnsley, and they're doing quite well this year, but before this season they've really struggled, haven't they? But he's always scored double figures.
Yeah, even when he was at Fulham, he did really well, didn't he?
I think that's a really good shout, Woodrow. I'd love to see him brought in. And he's big, isn't he? He's big and tall, can hold the ball up. Yeah, he'd be a good signing.
Change your list, Adam.
Should have put him on my list, shouldn't I?
Put him on instead of Armstrong. Go on. All right, I'll do my three now. First one I've got on my list, the Mr. Stupid Face Phil Jones, who, I mean, one reason I picked him obviously is because he's won the title with United. He's got, good Premier League experience, and on his day can be a pretty solid centre back. And also he's completely out of favour at the moment because their backline's starting to become actually really good. I also picked him because I think it would just be hilarious to have Phil Jones's face just doing all his every week, something to cheer the fans up if we're losing. So I think he'd be a good centre back, and again, I've kind of gone for centre back, centre mid, striker because that's what Sam Allardyce has said he's looking for. Centre mid, I've gone for Todd Cantwell from Norwich, who's someone I think we spoke about in our first video on this. But I was a huge fan of his when he was at Norwich, and he looked like he could, control centre mid, and he's still super young. He's early 20s, but looks like he knows the game really well. He's been doing well for Norwich this season as well in the Championship. And then the last name I'd got on my list was Josh King from Bournemouth, who I think we were also linked with last window, and good Premier League striker, played really well for Bournemouth, one of their best players while they were in the Prem. And we need someone up the top who can score goals, and maybe he'd be the guy to help, But those are my guys.
Yeah, I'd take any one of them probably, if I'm honest as well. Like you say, King's got lots of experience in the Prem. Jones, you could have him for his face, like you say.
Something to cheer us all up.
Yeah. I think
plenty of those faces, won't they, playing for the Albion?
Oh,
playing in the Albion back forward, there'd be those faces, there'd be hundreds of them, wouldn't there, per game?
Yeah.
So.
We've lost again.
But
I think Cantwell might be a bit out of our league.
Cantwell's probably going to be the expensive one.
Yeah, I think like Armstrong, he might be a bit pushing 20 million just because of his age and how well he did in the Prem, and now he's continued it. So what are your thoughts, Tom?
But I say the same thing. Cantwell, those were the kind of guys I was just like wishing and hoping we were going to be making moves for. Obviously Norwich came down, we went up, and I was thinking, he'd be perfect, for Bilic. He's good attacking central midfielder, pops up with a few goals, and they're the kind of players I was like really craving the club to bring in, but. We all know that we didn't hardly have any money to spend, did we? And
no.
Like you said, I just think Norwich would probably want a hefty fee for him because he's so young still. He's so good, but he's so young still, isn't he? But I think there's a good chance on the other two, 100%. Like Phil Jones, I know people take the mick out of him, and his career at United's fizzled out, hasn't it? Basically, but I tell you what, for a team like West Brom, he'd be a good addition, wouldn't he? For a team like us. And like you said, I think he's worked with him before, hasn't he, Allardyce at Blackburn, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So I think definitely there's a chance with Phil Jones. And Josh King, he was one I've always been hoping we'd get linked with. And funnily enough, today, there's some stories come out in the papers today that we're one of the teams interested in because his contract runs out in the summer as well. And Bournemouth are trying to get him off their books because he's on, Premier League wages still. So, yeah, Josh King would be absolutely fantastic, exactly what we need. I think, like someone like Grant Robinson as well would work well alongside King because he's big and strong, isn't he? And hold the ball up. So, I think those two, I think there's a chance for those two, definitely.
Potentially. And again, with like Phil Jones, if you think, a few seasons back, we got Johnny Evans from United, who was out of favour there, came to us and was probably one of our best defenders we've had in recent times.
Yeah.
So could potentially be the same sort of thing.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, we'll see who Allardyce ends up signing, I guess, in the next few weeks. Hopefully they've got a few people. I'm just going to rattle through a few of the actual rumoured transfers. We have listed a few of them anyway, but some of the guys we're looking to get, you've got Sacco from Palace, Cenk Tosun from Everton, Hamza Chowdhury from Leicester, are all three players I believe we've all been linked with a loan deal. Are they the right sort of players you think that we need to improve the squad?
Yeah, I think the Leicester lad, I think he'd do really well. He's obviously a good holding midfielder, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he's just not got a chance of getting in with Tielemans, Maddison coming back in now. I can't remember the other lad they've got in midfield, Leicester, but he's a really good player, isn't he, as well?
Indeed.
Indeed, that's it.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get a look in there, but yeah, he'd come into our team straight away and straight into the starting lineup, I think. So I think he'd be a really good shout. Tucson, I I don't know. I'm not overly excited about him compared to all the other strikers we've mentioned. I prefer the other ones coming in. What's your thoughts, Tom, on any of them?
Yeah, I think they're definitely the kind of players that Allardyce is going to be going for, to be honest. Guys who aren't necessarily playing regular first team football, but have got, enough Prem experience to come in and to do a job straight away. Personally, I'd have all those three. I'm not a massive Tosun fan. There was big things, weren't there, expected when Allardyce brought him for Everton, because he'd been tearing it up in Turkey, was it? I think he came from, because he's Turkish international, isn't he? And then he just never really got going, did he? But yeah, I think for a team like us, I don't think he'd be a bad addition, to be fair. And playing regular first team football, I reckon you could get quite a few goals out of him. To be honest, I would personally take all those through. I'd love Chowdhury, because I think, that's where we're majorly lacking. Everyone keeps talking about up front and defence. Like, look, at the end of the day, we need strengthening everywhere, don't we?
Yeah.
But people seem to be, not too many West Brom fans seem to be talking about midfield, and I think that's really important that we bring in like a centre mid, defensive holding centre mid, but someone who can play a bit as well.
Yeah,
Malumba or Jakob.
Yeah, Malumba or Jakob, exactly, or like Shana, but one of those kind of guys. We just haven't got that. I thought Livermore was potentially going to be that guy for us, but he's obviously had a couple of knocks. He's been suspended, and he's looked kind of like the Prem's kind of a bit of a step up, hasn't he? So I'd like that Chowdhury, and few teams have been linked with him. But I think the one thing we've got going for us is that we can guarantee these guys, like first team football, you're gonna play every week, unless you get a knock, you're gonna play every week. And I think that might tilt the scales a little bit in our favour, because he's been linked with Southampton, Newcastle, and they might not necessarily play every week for those kind of teams, I don't think.
Yeah, they might not need them as much as we do.
Yeah.
No,
yeah. Yeah, I like I say, I think Chowdhury would be a solid addition. Could potentially be like him and Gallagher, weirdly two lone players, but they could essentially make up our centre mid and probably, handle with a lot of the issues for us. We have got some rumoured transfers, signings as well. We've got people like Olivia and Cham from Celtic's his name's been going around for a month or so. Phil Jones, James Tonkins, like you mentioned earlier. And a bit of a surprise one, Josh Windass from Sheffield Wednesday. We're all familiar with his dad.
Yeah.
I'd have Dean Windass right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. But out of those, like the one that kind of stands out, I mean, and Cham kind of stands out because I think he's probably going to be the most expensive out of all of them, coming from Celtic, being a young French player, good centre mid. But Josh Windass, that was the most surprising name I think that's been linked with us recently.
Yeah,
he's not even featured that much in Sheffield Wednesday. No. I mean, if you look at it, he hasn't done that great either. He's not. I think he scored 3 goals. Is it in 10 games, something like that? Anyway, so it's not. Yeah, he's not getting me excited. He's maybe one for the future, but but we need right here, right now, don't we? Really, let's be honest. So,
I thought that was because it was. The rumour was doing around like a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, it's just absolute tripe. But it seems to have picked up pace a little bit. A few, Birmingham Mail, I think, said, there might be a bit of truth to it. I think the only thing with that one is that I think that it's around 300k, 400k. And I don't know, maybe he's a player Allardyce, has been impressed with, and he's thought, well, if I can bring him in for 300k, maybe it's a risk worth taking. But I don't know. I think he's a championship player for me. That's his level, and we need people to come in and turn things around for us, drastically. He's not going to do that. So I think that's a really odd one for me, to be honest.
And if he's our one actual transfer as well, isn't that kind of hinting us to that we're preparing to go to the championship as well? Yeah. That's a bit. Yeah,
it'd be someone I wouldn't mind if we signed him, if we did get relegated and they went, okay, we've brought in Josh Windass as like a, as a replacement for someone like Carnu leaving or whatever because his contract's running out. It's like, all right, fine. It's just to bolster the attack, someone there. But yeah, not in the Prem. He'd be, I think he'd be.
I think if he was the first signing we made as well, the fans would just lose it, wouldn't they? They'd just be like, what is going on, you know?
Yeah.
When we were desperate to stay in the division and we're bringing in Josh Windass. Just the social media it'd be unbearable,
I thought there'd be more hashtag lie out than anybody's ever seen. You'd go mad. A few of the transfers going out. There's only a few. Keeper is rumoured to go out on loan to Blackburn. I mean, he's not featured. Might as well give him some first team football. Yeah. Gravinovic is rumoured to be recalled from loan, and Poak, P-O-A-K, from Greece. They're interested in signing him, so it doesn't really affect us. But I don't know, he's not really been played enough.
No.
Especially since Allardyce came in. But the big one is Sam Johnston, wanted by, at the moment, Tottenham, Leeds and Brighton. That's the one I'd be, if I have everybody to leave, if anyone left this transfer window, he's the one I do not want to go.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's been our best player by a country mile, and there's no ifs or buts about it. He's been unreal. I was thinking, nah, but I've been chatting to a few people, and they reckon there might be a bit of truth to it. And that obviously his contract it's next year, isn't it? His contract runs out, and the risk with this one is if someone puts in a big bid, that the thinking is, well, we could use that money, you know, to strengthen, you know, more positions. We've got Button and Bond, who, you know, they're not on the same level as Johnston, but, you know, they could come in and do a job, I guess. Could we use that money elsewhere? And if he's only got a year left on his deal, that you can just see what the board's thinking is going to be, can't you? And that's the worry. For me, I just don't think it's worth the risk, because one, the fans there'll be uproar from the fans because of how good he's been. You know, he's our star player this season, and yeah, I just think, all right, if we have to take a reduced fee from him in the summer, then so be it. You know, he might be the difference of us. He might be the difference of, you know, staying in division potentially with how good he's been this season. So. Yeah, I'd be devastated if Johnston went, to be honest.
That's what I was about to say that as well. If we go down, then fair enough. Yeah, I think you just take a hit of what, 5-6 million probably.
Yeah,
I know it's a lot of money to us, but
But fair play to him as well. You know, there's no problem the player going to play in the Premier League if we're in the Championship.
No.
But, yeah, it'd be sickening, wouldn't it, if he went in this window? I think.
Yeah. Like you say, big uproar. A lot of people would be very unhappy.